Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of With a Side of Hustle. Of course, as you know, chance for me to sit down with some friends, some colleagues, talk about their small projects or small businesses, help them expand their network and expand their community. Today, I'm joined by a good friend from the Disney days on the cruise line, Mr. Josh Ziegler, whose apparel company is Center Street Apparel. Of course, it is a Disney reference, and you'll find out more about that in just a moment. First, Josh, how are you, man? Good to see you.
I'm doing all right. Considering everything in the world right now, I'm doing well.
Good.
We're healthy. We're getting by, and it's an interesting time to be alive.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. We're sort of in this one day at a time scenario. We're so deep into all this crazy that just being able to say, you know what, I got up today and I put pants on, I think is enough. So again, our background, we've met working for the cruise line, I in the entertainment side, you on the publishing side.
Technically I was still entertainment.
But you were because you would produce the schedule of all the entertainment.
Yep.
So just real quick,
I reported to assistant cruise director and cruise director. So I mean, we were in the entertainment department. I worked with the cruise staff technically. Gotcha. That was our team per se.
Right.
But it was just myself and one other person at any point in the print shop. So
yeah. So any piece of paper that came onto the ship, like that was your project?
For the most part, yeah. There were some things that were still, printed shoreside or something like that, but the bulk of signage at the different restaurants and locations around this ship, people would be, the managers would come and request it with the cruise director or assistant cruise director and say, we need a sign that says this, and we would take care of getting that taken care of.
So design has always sort of been in your wheelhouse and in your background.
Oh, yeah. I have the degree in graphic design.
Yes. So transferring to sort of an apparel company where you're doing designs sort of loosely based on Disney things is sort of as a natural thing. But and because it's a Disney related apparel shop, obviously you have a Disney background. And as we were just discussing before we started, it's kind of it's a longevity with the company. Real quick, run down all of the things that of your Disney career.
The Disney College program, working at PAC Fantasmic, so Parade Audience Control and Fantasmic, and a little bit of the Theater of the Stars, Beauty and the Beast theater. That was my first time working with the company. I had interviewed with Quinn Kimball at Disney Design Group, which would have been absolutely a dream internship to get. It still is a dream job to have someday. Didn't quite make it. He didn't make the final decision, so it didn't quite make it. They went with like 5 other people, but still referred me over to a professional internship that I did end up getting. With travel industry marketing, kind of reworking, customizing ads for the travel agents and stuff like that, and did a few other things, met a few other people that, I still have somewhat contact with and things like that. Then after that, moved down to Florida, and I, got a part-time job at the water parks, just as slide ops. So basic way to describe that is lifeguarding without actually saving people. Working an attraction, saying, okay, here's how you get in, pull the safety bar down, that kind of a thing, but in water. So there wasn't really a safety bar per se and things like that. It was basically hold on to the handles and, don't let go. About a year and a half that I actually worked part-time, then went seasonal as we moved back up to Pennsylvania. And 9 months after moving back up, got a friend who I had met down in Florida and worked with outside of Disney. He had referred me to this job that he was offered, had worked for Cruise Line before, turned this down because he was comfortable in his position he had now. But he offered it to me knowing how much I wanted to get back with the company. And it was actually an incredible experience helping to open the Disney Dream and ended up working with Disney Cruise Line for about a little over a year and a half, 3 contracts. And it just got difficult to be away from home and family at the time and stage I was at in life. So it just was a little bit difficult.
Sure, yeah, and I think that goes for any cruise line job. After a while, like, this is amazing. I've been to amazing places, but I'm still looking at water every single day. And there comes a moment where you're like, man, I kind of need to transfer back to land. And then it's a weird thing when you come back to land, because everyone else, all your friends, their lives have progressed for 6 to 8 months. And then you come back and you're like, hey, what's going on? They're like, we've had a baby. And you're like, were you even pregnant? I had no idea. So you're doing all this print shop work for a cruise line. You have Disney on the resume. You're transferring it back to real life. Did all that translate? Did it all that cross back over? Or did you just have to find something for the time being until the career took off?
Yeah, at the time it was trying to find something. I actually, it only took me a month to get a job. Thought it was something I was really going to look forward to. It wasn't. It was more on the digital and web kind of a side. Ended up working there for a few years and was then laid off just because they needed to cut costs and stuff like that. Sure. Did the stay-at-home dad thing for a few years.
Nice.
And that was a great time. You know, it definitely had its stresses, but it was definitely a fun time and something that, you know, I'll always get to share with my son. Right. And then during that time had, you know, a few ideas for certain projects that I wanted to get started and stuff like that. Yeah. But yeah, one of them eventually turned out to be Center Street Apparel. Right. And I believe that was shortly after I had started working where I am now, which is a screen printing and embroidery shop. Okay. So that is what we do as apparel.
Yeah. You kind of transit you hand in hand going with exactly. Yeah. And I was going to say, or ask you rather. So through the stay-at-home dad stuff, you've been laid off. Like the birth, the origin, if you will, of Center Street Apparel was sort of just out of time. You had the time and interest.
To a point. Yeah. It was at the time me needing the creative outlet, needing to, you know, do something that I was enjoying and things like that. And just something other than being a parent.
Sure. Yeah.
Which I love, absolutely. But there's, as any parent can tell you, there's something that you just need to do for yourself. Totally. So
most of the parents I've had on the show have made a comment of, I love being a parent, but
exactly.
So
it's absolutely nothing against the children.
Of course.
Nothing that, you know, we don't want to be with our family. Right. But there's just a point where you're like, okay, what can I do for me?
Yeah.
And that's very important for anybody to kind of keep that in mind at times.
Totally. I totally agree. One of the reasons I started this, because I was sitting around going, man, I'm not doing anything. And I've always wanted to do some sort of a talk show, and this seemed to be the best time to do it in. So
exactly.
Was an apparel company something that you wanted to always do, or did you just find yourself kind of twiddling your thumbs going, man, this would be an interesting venture for me?
It was more, as I said, Disney Design Group is a career goal for me. Disney Design Group, they are a division within the Disney company that they do the merchandise for parks and resorts, and I believe they still do some stuff for like Adventures by Disney, Disney Cruise Line, Aulani now. Like they do merchandise for that whole division for the most part. So I mean, it's something that they have their soft lines and hard lines, meaning, you know, they have soft lines, which is the apparel, the clothing, that kind of thing. And then hard lines, which is like the toys and souvenirs and that kind of stuff. Gotcha. It was always something that, you know, ever since I found a few of their logos in one of my college textbooks, I looked at that. I'm like, I need to do some research on them. I did some research, ended up doing the interview with them. And that's what I think I want to do. Just after cruise line at that, you know, other job that I had, one of my coworkers was saying, you know, introduced me to these tea a day websites where, you know, they just have a design up for a day. You can choose to buy it or not. It's only like, you know, $10 to $15 per shirt, depending on the website. and the artist who created it actually gets, $1 or something off of each shirt sold. So I was like, you know what, let me throw a few, cool little pop culture designs together or something. And I actually had one of them that was selected and was sold for a day.
Okay.
Ended up selling I think they ended up printing like about 700 shirts.
Gotcha.
So it was, a nice little chunk of change I wasn't expecting and stuff like that.
Sure.
It was just a cool experience. I ended up redesigning that design and have it available still in my shops and stuff like that. But yeah, it was something that kind of sparked me back onto the t-shirt design and apparel design and things like that. Once I got this position that I'm in now, it just kind of seemed like a no-brainer. I'm, working at a place where I can print t-shirts and embroider hats and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I think that's what I want to do.
Gotcha.
Because I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. Is it always, perfect pace and all of that kind of stuff? No, but it's still something very enjoyable.
Right. That's any job though, I think, has that ebb and flow, exactly. Right? Especially when you're in I don't want to say a dream job, but a job that sort of aligns with what your interests are and what you want to do. There's oh my God, I'm doing what I want to do. And then there's also the, oh my God, like, is this what I want to be doing? You went from that side hustle fun to actually being a job, and then it has a weird crossover. And really, and it's, the show's called With a Side of Hustles, and so we kind of focus primarily on that side thing, which it kind of truly is for you. It's the joy of it's the apparel stuff. I want to go into Center Street Apparel. For those people out there who don't know Disney as well as you and I do, what is Center Street, and why? What was the decision to make that the name?
I wanted something that was going to be an icon and something that was very noticeable, very recognizable, but wasn't blaring like Castle's, Castle Apparel, or initially I was thinking to myself like the Hub, Main Street, and thinking about the fact that there's every town has a Main Street or something similar where there's a lot of shops and there's apparel stores and things like that. So I thought to myself, oh, you know what, that might be good, but Main Street Apparel it was too blatant for me. Because I do have some designs that aren't Disney. It's some pop culture or some of the other parks or something like that. And I wanted to keep it kind of open, that it could be a more wide brand and that kind of thing. So that's really where my thinking was. Center Street is more noticeable in Disneyland than in Disney World. I've never been to Disneyland, but I still can see, Google Maps and stuff like that of it. And Center Street is actually that alley halfway down Main Street. So you're walking down Main Street in Walt Disney World. It no longer is on the left side, that they have, the shop filled that place, and expansion of the Emporium and everything. But on the right side, there is an alleyway halfway down. That's Center Street there. My logo, the little shape with the Mickey ear and the street lamp, the crossbar is actually a tracing, and the loop on the bottom is actually a tracing of Main Street on at Disneyland. And the crossbars are Center Street from Disneyland. So it's something, very subtle, very only noticeable if you really pay attention to the overhead view of it.
So you and I actually have had a discussion fairly recently, because there are so many shops out there, the Etsy shops and apparel companies, that what I would define as walk a very thin, fine line between being, hey, we're kind of Disney related, and being like, nope, this is Disney. And I think for you, Center Street Apparel is, and because it's for Disney fans and Disney nerds, as I like to call us, like people know what Center Street is. But for anybody who doesn't, like, it's kind of a broad enough thing where you're like, oh, what is this? In your design creation, how important is it to you to walk that line? How close or far,
I do my
rather,
best.
do you veer?
Yeah, I do my best to avoid any kind of IPs and intellectual properties and copyright infringement and that kind of thing. I try to avoid blatantly using the names of certain movies or things like that unless it truly ties to the design that I'm using.
Okay.
I even my tags I try to be careful with sometimes, that I'm not like straight up saying that it's Winnie the Pooh or something like that. Like certain properties I know from my time with doing design work at Disney, I know certain characters and certain properties are a lot more touchy.
Sure.
They're a lot more protective of whether it be because they don't have the full rights to it, or there's other factors to it. So I try my best to avoid that kind of confrontation, because I don't want to get shut down. This is just me having fun. It's not me trying to the ultimate job of this is not to make $1 million. It's me having fun doing these designs that I kind of would like to see and wear and things like that. And at the same time, being a part of this community of other small shops and content creators and all these other just amazing people that I've come across and have met virtually through social media and things like that. So
it is incredible community of Disney fans who just want to be part of it, right? They want to latch on to all the things that are available, and finding shops like yours, I think, is huge, because it's you go to Disney, you get a Mickey shirt, Disney store, online shop, but for me, having something that I know the person who designed it, and that their love of it is shown in the art itself, which actually brings me to your hat, because it's your Big Hero 6 Academy shirt or hat, and I love that logo, because it kind of looks like Baymax, but it also doesn't look like Baymax. And it's
the embroidery definitely gets a lot more stylized. You can see this little figure here, that is Baymax, flying up over the San Francisco Bridge. But it's
not blatant
for anybody
enough.
Who knows.
Exactly.
It's not blatant enough. It'll be something noticeable for anybody who's a fan of Big Hero 6. But it also is recognizable, or hopefully recognizable, for anybody who is a fan of the Umbrella Academy. That is the upside down everything. So that was where I kind of went with it. I was like, I want to do this mashup that would be really cool. I really like the Umbrella Academy, the show. And I want to, there's already 6 heroes, and there's, 6 within the Academy. And so it was a good fit. So I have that.
That's great.
I do have the occasional issue of somebody claiming it's a copyright, or like too close to that line kind of a thing, in my Redbubble shop. And I have just started posting a few things over to TeePublic. They're both owned by the same company now. They've kind of merged, but still keep their websites separate. But I know there are plenty of people that are more comfortable and familiar with TeePublic. So that's why I wanted to kind of put some stuff over there and just have that option available for people.
Tell me about like the design process. Like, do you wake up at 2 a.m. straight up in a cold sweat and go, I have this thing, and write it down? Or is it meticulous of...
On a rare occasion, I have an idea pop up, and I'm like, I've got to write that down. I need this. Most of the time what I do is, like, a lot of artists or writers or anybody like that will tell you keep a notebook by your bed, because what always happens is as you're laying there trying to fall asleep, something will pop into your head and you're like, oh, that is a great idea. I'll remember that when I wake up. And then you wake up and you're like, it's gone.
It was like
it never was there. Yeah. So I actually, in my phone, in the notes app, I just, have a list of all these designs, and the bulk of them are still ones that I've had from before I actually opened the shop. Gotcha. I just never got around to doing them, or never felt compelled to, have that full creative spark of, this is exactly how I want it to look. Yeah. One of them was one that I just did a collaboration with a tattoo artist, Tattoos by Shannon. Shannon Tabor, he's a great guy, very talented artist. He does a lot of work for some other shops and stuff as well. Awesome. And he brought to life my idea for the Maelstrom / Frozen crossover, since, Maelstrom was overtaken by the Frozen attraction. And it just, in my head, it made sense to me to have the 3-headed troll coming out saying invaders to Anna and Elsa. And I'm like, it just made sense to me. And I'm like, why has nobody else done this? Yeah. So that was a design that was sitting there. I had played around with it once or twice, that I was like, all right, I can try and do this. But I'm like, it's not gonna be exactly what I was hoping. Sure. So I ended up, relaying this to him, and the artwork he came up with was incredible. So, very cool. Awesome. Maybe I'll do a reprint or post that up onto the Redbubble and TeePublic shops. But for now, they are, I think we have like a dozen out there in the world. So
from initial, like, I have this idea, to it going on hat, shirt, whatever, how long from A to B, or A to Z, I guess, rather?
It all depends on exactly what the design is and what the product is that I'm thinking. Okay. For some of them, like I said, I can sit there with the idea for, months, years, and never do anything with it. But the ones that do come up, sometimes it's, I sit there, I'm like, all right, I turn to my wife, I'm like, I need to do some design work tonight. I need to get this idea done. I just feel it needs to happen at this point. Yeah.
The juices are flowing, so do it now.
Yeah, I don't want to lose the motivation and just have it sit there for another, however many months. So I'll sit there, at night and usually get it together. Sometimes takes a few days to really get it together, but sometimes, depending on the complexity of it and everything, I can get it done within a few hours. Yeah. And then as far as actually getting it onto the garments or anything like that, if it's something I'm posting up onto Redbubble or TeePublic, it's really whenever somebody decides to go on and buy something that actually gets finished. They are print on demand, so they don't actually make like a big stock of them and then hold on to them. They just basically have somebody go onto the website, say, I like this design on this product, and go. And, that's kind of when they decide to print and do that. Gotcha. Otherwise, when it's ones like I've done for myself, or that I do myself with the embroidery and things, I'm lucky enough that my boss is flexible and is like, yeah, if you do it on your own time and you don't have, this big workload sitting behind you, then by all means, use the equipment. And so anything in my Etsy shop is something that either I do on demand, or we've printed a stock of it or something like that, or I'm doing a pre-sale for a certain design or something like that. So
I have so many questions, and I know you're limited on time, so I'm going to do my best to be as quick as possible with these. How did you decide? So Redbubble, TeePublic, Etsy, like what's the decision to put those in certain places? Is it just, a following goes to a certain thing, or is it just literally you're throwing mud against the wall and seeing what sticks and where?
A little bit of everything.
Yeah.
With Redbubble and TeePublic, it's very minimal risk for me. Okay. I basically put, my artwork up there, and if somebody finds it and likes it, then they can buy something. Okay. I get a little bit of a kickback of what my margin is set at, and kind of go from there. So I don't have to put any money out. Gotcha. Which unfortunately I don't have that, little fund in the back to
Sure.
be able to do that.
Yeah.
And the pre-sales that I do have, I haven't sold, a crazy amount that gives me that little buffer to go, all right, I've got this chunk of money. I can go send this over to this other project
Gotcha.
and, print the next one. So far haven't had that happen yet, but that's not, like I said, that's not what I'm doing it for. I'm doing it because I enjoy doing these designs. I want to have something of my own to wear. And if other people like it, it's just a little bit better and kind of cool to have somebody else show that support.
So then just for this, that makes just for my personal knowledge. So Redbubble, TeePublic, you give them a design and then
you upload the design, decide how it's placed, what color it's placed on, if there's background color, you decide what products it's available on or not available on. And so you keep products active or inactive. And then from there
and then they
just
do
keep it up there. Yeah. You can advertise, you can,
Gotcha.
Publicize it wherever you want and say, hey, go to my shop and this is where you can find my art and that kind of thing.
Cool.
Whereas with Etsy, it's like you actually have to create it.
You have the product.
You have to have the product yourself and take care of the shipping and things like that.
Gotcha.
Unless you have, your own setup of drop shipping and stuff like that. That's, your own order fulfillment kind of a thing. But you handle a lot more of that process. Whereas with Redbubble and TeePublic, you literally just make your artwork, decide what it goes on, and that's it.
Yeah.
They take care of handling, taking the order, taking the payment, processing the payment, getting the production taken care of, getting it shipped, and then they just give you the margin that you have set.
Gotcha.
And you get your monthly or semi-monthly payments based off of how much you've actually sold.
Gotcha. And I know because of the time that we're in, you have gone above and beyond and crossed over into the mask realm of it. And is that Etsy or is that on the
that is something through the Redbubble and TeePublic shops that you have the masks available for that. The Redbubble ones, I've been wearing one of my 4 designs that I did purchase for myself, which is my nightmare design.
Gotcha.
Mashed up with the Haunted Mansion. I have that one. I have one of the Dragons Imagine. I have, a couple others as well. And I'm looking to get some samples from TeePublic shop as well.
Yeah.
But they're good quality. They are dye sublimated, which is a different type of process that basically the ink transfers onto the fabric itself. And kind of stains the fabric. So it is a more permanent than, a lot of other methods and stuff. So
I love the fact that a lot of your designs are crossover things, which makes it a little less, this is exactly this. And the closer you look at it, you're like, oh, like the hat, it's Big Hero 6 and the Umbrella Academy. It's Nightmare and Haunted Mansion. So it's original.
Yes.
But based
it's using some different IPs and, making it unique. So that, it isn't blatantly me just going, hey, I made a Nightmare Before Christmas shirt.
Right.
And there's not that there's necessarily anything wrong with that, but for me, it's, again, I don't like to toe that line too closely, and want to make sure that people see that it really is my artwork. It really is something that I'm creating and not just, finding something out there that is promotional material or something like that and going, oh, let me put this on a shirt. That just isn't my style.
Sure. Couple quick more things. You obviously, we've already talked about, let's talk about links and where we can find you. You talk about Redbubble and TeePublic and Etsy. What are those official links? Obviously, I'll put the links in the description down below, but please tell me the links so I know.
The bulk of everything that I have is Center ST Apparel
Okay.
as the handle.
Okay.
My Instagram, that is my Instagram account. And I have, my bio link has Milkshake, which is a really nice app that makes it a little bit more like a website rather than just a landing page with a bunch of links. So I have that with some links in there to everything, as well as some other projects that I work on and have played around with and things like that.
Obviously, side of hustle, you're side hustling like a pro. What does hustle mean to you?
Honestly, I don't know how to answer that, because for me, it is a side hustle. It is, something that I'm hoping can bring in a little bit extra money on the side, but ultimately it's more just a fun project on the side.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hobby that I'm just a little bit more frugal about, and a little bit more, trying to consider it a business, rather than just, oh, let me do a little bit of this and make some art or anything like that. So
And I know we're getting close to time here, but there is one more thing I'd like you to talk about. A couple years ago, you started the Muses Rise initiative.
yes,
Give me a little bit of background of Muses Rise.
Muses Rise was something that I always was inspired by, the book The Five People You Meet in Heaven. It was just something that really kind of resonated with me, thinking that about the fact that we may not even know how we impact other people's lives, but we can have a profound impact. Even something as simple as, an example from the book, as a child, he runs in front of a car, which ends up being this gentleman that he knows, who goes on, because he has a weak heart and a condition already, ends up having a heart attack just after that. So he had no idea he had any impact on that, but that was, a negative, in a way, impact. But at the same time, it's like a field of bubbles. Everybody bumps into each other and impacts everyone in some way. There's always interactions, no matter if you're just walking down the street or you're actually talking to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And so those interactions can be something very positive, but you may never know about it. And if you just simply tell those people that they had an impact on you, that can in turn have a really positive effect on their life. Because if they didn't know that, you made this difference to them and everything, or that they made this difference to you, that they may be going through their own stuff, and, worst case scenario may be considering, ending their life or something like that. But if you're just telling them they matter, then it can improve everyone's mood, and, mental stability and everything like that. So it's just spreading the positivity. That's the biggest thing, and making sure people are aware that they matter in this world.
I love it, man. I love it. That's awesome. I feel like we could do a whole other show just
Yeah, that's a whole
on
other
Muses Rise stuff, but I definitely wanted to put it out there because I know it's near and dear to your heart.
Yes.
I remember when we started, you sort of celebrated a person every day who was
Yep.
part of your Muse list, and I'm very honored to be part of that list. Hopefully, I still am part of it. Again, Josh, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure. Guys, I go for Center Street Apparel, all the things. Links will be in the description down below, including Instagram, all the things, even a link to Muses Rise as well. Thank you to Josh. And of course, thank you to you for watching this episode of With a Side of Hustle. If you like what we do out here, hit that like button, subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you know when new videos are available. Again, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your attention. Keep watching videos. We'll see you next time.